Welcome to Wonder World Frenzy. Today, we're diving into the fascinating topic of the classification of organisms and how it helps us understand the diversity of life. Ever wondered why we classify organisms? It's because this process allows us to see how all living things are related and how they differ from one another. By classifying organisms, we can learn about their evolutionary history, how they adapt to different environments, and even predict changes in one group based on what we know about another. Take the example of humans and chimpanzees. They're so closely related that we can actually figure out when various mutations occurred just by comparing their DNA. This is thanks to the field of phylogenetics, which helps us understand evolutionary relationships between species. The benefits of classification are endless. It helps us identify new species, determine which groups are most likely to go extinct due to human activity, and even informs medical research by allowing scientists to study different species for potential treatments or cures. In conclusion, understanding the classification of organisms is essential for gaining a deeper appreciation of life on Earth and enhancing our knowledge about biodiversity. So next time you encounter a new species, remember that it's part of a vast network of life on our planet. How have classification systems evolved throughout history, and what were some early methods of categorizing organisms? So, did you know that Aristotle was the first to try and categorize organisms? He grouped animals based on their mobility, either moving or not moving. This simple classification system laid the foundation for later taxonomists to build upon. Fast forward many centuries to the 1700s, and we have Carl Linnaeus. He came up with the idea of binomial nomenclature, which involves giving each species a two-part Latin name made up of a genus and a species. This system is still in use today. Linnaeus also categorized plants and animals into classes based on their reproductive structures. While some aspects of his work have been disproven or refined, it paved the way for modern taxonomy. Now, let's quickly touch on Darwin's contribution to classification systems. While Darwin didn't create a new system, his work had a significant impact on how we view evolutionary relationships between species. His ideas inspired people like Alfred Russel Wallace to develop new classification systems based on common ancestry. That wraps up our journey through history. I hope you found this look at evolving classification systems both enlightening and entertaining. What is the Linnaean system of classification? And what are the main taxonomic ranks used today? You might be wondering, what is this Linnaean system all about? Well, it's a method used to classify and organize living things. It was developed by Carl Linnaeus in the 18th century, and it has become the standard taxonomic system we use today. The Linnaean system is a hierarchical classification scheme, starting with the highest level and working its way down. The main taxonomic ranks used today are kingdom, phylum or division, class, order, family, genus, species. These ranks help us understand the relationships between different organisms based on their similarities and differences. Now that you know a bit more about the Linnaean system of classification and its main taxonomic ranks, I hope you found this information fascinating. What are the three domains of life, and what distinguishes each domain from the others? Bacteria and archaea are part of the prokaryote domain. These organisms are single-celled, lack membrane-bound organelles, and have circular DNA with no nucleus. They replicate through a process known as binary fission. Now, let's talk about eukaryotes. This domain is made up of the more complex organisms like fungi and plants. These eukaryotes have linear DNA in chromosomes in a eukaryotic cell with membrane-bound organelles. They use a different method of replication called mitosis or meiosis. As you can see, each domain is distinct from the others based on their complexity and reproductive processes. It's truly amazing how varied life on Earth can be. What are the major kingdoms within the Eukarya domain, and what are the key characteristics of each? The Eukarya domain is a diverse group of organisms characterized by having internal membranes that enclose cellular components such as the nucleus, Golgi apparatus, and lysosomes. Within this domain, there are three major kingdoms: animals, plants, and fungi. Let's take a closer look at each one. Animals are heterotrophic organisms that lack chlorophyll and rely on other organisms for food. They reproduce sexually and have cells with centrosomes that control mitosis. Plants are autotrophic organisms with cell walls made of cellulose or similar compounds. They reproduce both sexually and asexually and have cells with chloroplasts for photosynthesis. Finally, fungi are neither plants nor animals and can take many forms, from animals to structures. They absorb nutrients from their environment through cell walls made of chitin or similar compounds. And there you have it. A brief overview of the major kingdoms within the Eukarya domain and their key characteristics. I hope you found this information as fascinating as I did. What are the defining characteristics of the Plantae kingdom, and how are plants classified within this kingdom? The Plantae kingdom, also known as plants, is one of the 5 kingdoms in the living world. The other 4 are animals, fungi, protists, microscopic organisms, and minera bacteria. This kingdom is characterized by immobile organisms with a static form and no true mobility. Plants depend on external sources for water and nutrients, and they also have a wide range of adaptations for pollination and seed dispersal. When it comes to plant classification, there are 2 main groups: vascular plants and non-vascular plants. Vascular plants have specialized transport systems for water and nutrients throughout their bodies. Flowering plants are a subset of vascular plants that include mosses, ferns, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. Non-vascular plants include algae and mosses. What are the defining characteristics of the Animalia kingdom, and how are animals classified within this kingdom? Let's dive into the Animalia kingdom and exploring the fascinating world of animal classification. Did you know that all animals belong to the Animalia kingdom? This includes both vertebrates and invertebrates, which are further categorized into phyla. Vertebrates, with their backbones, are divided into 5 main groups: fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Invertebrates, on the other hand, make up the majority of the Animalia kingdom and are grouped into more than 30 phyla based on their body structure. The fascinating world of arthropods includes insects, spiders, crustaceans like crabs and shrimp, and even centipedes. Mollusks encompass snails, clams, octopuses. You might be surprised to learn that their anatomy is quite complex. Annelids are earworms and segmented creatures like squid or caterpillars. Finally, there's the Echinodermata phylum, think starfish and sea urchins. As we continue to explore this diverse Animalia kingdom, it's fascinating to see how animals are classified based on their unique features and adaptations. What are the defining characteristics of the Fungi kingdom, and how are fungi classified within this kingdom? Let's dive into the fascinating world of fungi, specifically discussing the defining characteristics of the Fungi kingdom and how fungi are classified within this domain. There are 5 kingdoms of life: Plantae, Animalia, Protista, Minera, and Fungi. The Fungi kingdom is unique in that its cells have no chlorophyll and do not carry out photosynthesis, a defining characteristic that sets it apart from plants. Fungi can be further categorized into 3 main groups: microscopic fungi, which include molds, macroscopic fungi with no cell walls at maturity, like mushrooms, and water mold-like fungi. The kingdom fungi is classified on the basis of cell wall composition and other features like sexual reproduction. As you can see, fungi are a diverse group of organisms with many interesting features. What are the defining characteristics of the Protista kingdom, and how are protists classified within this kingdom? We're diving into the fascinating world of the Protista kingdom and exploring how these organisms are classified within this diverse group. The Protista kingdom is known for its protists, which are single-celled or multicellular organisms that come in a variety of shapes and sizes. These tiny creatures can be found in a range of habitats, from soil to marine environments. They are classified based on their cellular structures and modes of nutrition, with characteristics like cell wall presence or absence, chloroplast number, and motility all playing a role in their classification. Protists can be divided into several different groups: algae, slime molds, mycetozoa, amoebas, sarcodina, ciliates, ciliophora, sporozoa, and dinoflagellates, haplosporida. Some protists are even considered protozoa and are classified within the animal kingdom. So there you have it, a quick overview of the defining characteristics and classification of the Protista kingdom. What are the defining characteristics of the Archaea and Bacteria domains, and how are these microorganisms classified? Let's go into the fascinating world of microorganisms and their classification. Specifically, we'll be exploring the defining characteristics of the Archaea and Bacteria domains. Did you know that Archaea and Bacteria are 2 entirely different domains of life? That's right. They share some similarities, like both being prokaryotic and having cell membranes, but they also have some distinct differences. For example, Archaea typically have no cytoplasmic membranes, which means they don't have any thylakoids or chloroplasts for photosynthesis. As for bacterial characteristics, Most bacteria have a cell wall made of peptidoglycan and are classified based on their Gram-Stain reaction. Meanwhile, archaea lack a cell wall altogether and are identified by their distinctive nucleic acid proteins. That's just a quick glimpse into the fascinating world of microorganism classification. What is phylogenetics, and how does it help scientists understand the evolutionary relationships between organisms? Let's dive into the fascinating world of phylogenetics and exploring how it helps scientists understand the evolutionary relationships between organisms. You might be wondering, what is phylogenetics? Well, it's a branch of biology that studies the evolutionary history and relationships between organisms. Scientists use a variety of techniques to create these relationships, such as DNA sequencing and morphological comparisons. The end result is a tree-like diagram called a phylogenetic tree. These trees help us understand how different species are related to each other and how they have evolved over time. For example, by comparing human DNA to that of other species, we can see where we fit in on Earth's family tree. So there you have it, folks. Phylogenetics is an essential tool for scientists to better understand the evolutionary history of life on Earth and the relationships between different species. I hope you found this topic as fascinating as I did. How are genomics and molecular biology revolutionizing the classification of organisms? And what are the future prospects for taxonomy? Let's dive into the fascinating world of genomics and molecular biology, and how they're revolutionizing the classification of organisms. Let's get started. So, did you know that genomic information is becoming increasingly important in understanding organism relationships? Traditional taxonomy relied heavily on morphological characteristics, but nowadays, we have molecular biology and DNA sequencing. This has opened up a whole new perspective on how species are classified. With the help of modern technology, we can sequence entire genomes or just specific regions. It turns out that these regions often reflect evolutionary history much better than morphological traits. So, it seems that the future of taxonomy lies in the use of genetic data from such regions as RNA genes or other hypervariable markers. These markers are more evolutionarily conserved and tend to reflect a more accurate representation of organism relationships than morphological traits alone. So there you have it, folks. Genomics and molecular biology are certainly revolutionizing the way we classify organisms. And the future prospects for taxonomy look bright with the use of genetic data. Thanks for joining me today in exploring this fascinating topic. What have we learned about the classification of organisms, and why is it crucial to continue studying and understanding life's diversity? Have you ever wondered why we classify organisms? Well, it allows us to understand life's diversity. By categorizing these amazing creatures, we can learn about their evolutionary history, adaptations, and how they interact with one another in their unique ecosystems. For example, let's take a look at these fascinating insects here. By classifying them, we can understand their behavior and how they fit into various environments. It's crucial to continue studying and understanding life's diversity because it helps us appreciate the amazing intricacy of nature. Additionally, it can inform us about potential threats or benefits that life might pose to our planet. So let's keep exploring and learning about these incredible organisms. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of organism classification. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to follow and subscribe for more engaging content like this. Until next time, happy exploring.